closer to God. He walks, hurries, stumbles, and almost collapses until his feet feel wet underneath him. Pain doesn't move him so much as panic. It's the eyes, the blood, so much blood, dripping from his arm and staining his feet, and too many eyes luring from the malformed shapes of the freshly dead. So much fear at him, and him at them. The fireman trails wet, sticky footprints underneath him until he finds a door. Private quarters, maybe, but it doesn't matter. He just needs to hide. His hands shake, so does his breath. He pushes the door open with a shoulder, and in the process, slips in a stick of his own blood. He gasps, sharp and rattling, and collapses into the room. Breath escapes him and heaves. He barely breathes the entire trek from deck to privacy. Curling around the skull held close, he gasps again. Even the stale air of the cabin was precious. A cabin, he stills. A cabin and a floor, rocking below him with the motion of the waves. A dim lantern swinging above and casting rapid shadows. Moans and wails of passengers just outside. A ferry, his now, and a former captain pressed to his chest. Precious minutes on the floor, heaving and bleeding, feel like hours. He pushes the skull in front of him and watches its dim blue glow, marked by bloody handprints. It bleeds too, inexplicably, pulling beneath where their neck once was. The fireman shudders. All he remembers is his hands around their neck, yanking, screaming, kicking, clawing, gurgled both of them, until he heard a sickening crack. The hollow sockets stirred back, like it's brain for something, and he trembles, despite knowing full well that his strangely skeletal opponent is dead. For good. What does that mean in hell? Does it mean to die here? Eventually, he lifts himself off the floor and sits up. The motion makes him dizzy, and his thoughts nauseous. In the dim, he sees himself in a nearby mirror, and he stares down a shriveled old man with sweat-slick hair and a gray beard stained bloody from a swollen nose. A wretched body, and a shell of someone who used to be stronger, angrier. This is it. It's only now, after the angels wrapped him in holy cloth and tasked him with redemption, after he tore a fellow sinner to pieces for the sake of his service, does the feeling of finality hit him. It's not his first attempt at absolution, nor the first time he hurt someone, but now, this is it. This is God's punishment. His pure white cloth draped over his shoulders and impossibly bright trembles with the rest of his tired body as he weeps. It's a stark contrast from his blood-soaked clothes and fresh bruises. That vicious fight to the death. A fight that others told him was necessary in order to gain a ship and passage through hell. Was it even 10 minutes ago? Still deep in despair, he grips his wrist and bows his head over a brutal gouge down the length of his forearm, sobbing through teeth as pain reannounces itself. The other ferryman was fast and fierce, and their knife sharp. But suddenly, something else catches his eye. He stops and holds his breath. Underneath the wound's skin and muscle and sinew, he sees blood-soaked white. Bone. He's seen bone-deep wounds before. Shocks of white under blood, under men screaming over shattered legs, thrust through their own knees. He thought he would scream just the same if he ever saw his own bones, but his, they're glowing, just barely, and possibly incandescent under the torn meat in the dim, bright, like the other ferryman's bones. The breath he had bursts out in convulsion. His skin feels clammy, disgusting. Wretched skin, wretched body, but not his bones. His bones are holy now. They must be. It has to be a part of his redemption, the Lord's sign that he was on the path. He wants to see them. He sets a hand above the edge of the slice. Fingers slide agonizingly slow toward the sensitive edge, close enough to graze the open flesh. Everything that was never meant to see open air. His heart hammers in his chest. He inhales, exhales, inhales. He knows now why the other ferryman was fleshless. He knows now what he must do. Inhales, exhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, exhales, inhales.
Take the pain.
He tells himself.
Toil for true salvation.
Inhales, exhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, exhales, inhales, until he's hyperventilating, until he's gasping, until he screams at the top of his lungs and digs under the skin and pulls. You could do better things with your hands, a preacher once said, turning over his callous hands as he pressed the ice to his swollen knuckles, remnants of a bloody bar brawl not long ago. Have you painted? Sculpted? He chuckled mirthlessly. Father Lorenzo had found him passed out on the chapel steps, and was the first to not shoo him away, for once. He felt something close to shame and hungover.
You think hands could make Mana de la Pagetta?
Why couldn't they? Without missing a beat, the old man met his eyes. You're one of the longshoremen. I see you out there sometimes. The turtle, no?
Just Vito.
He said brusquely. Well, Vito, so you know, you're always welcome in the Lord's house, no matter what. I'm not much of an artist myself, but I keep paints in my study. You're welcome to try them when your hands heal. He stares, and abrupt, abstruse longing hits his chest. Quickly turning the barrier, he huffed and looked away.
I'll think about it.
Pain snaps him back to reality. He's panting. He realizes, tears in his eyes, sweat soaked in his chest, that tells him his agony before he even feels it. He didn't pass out so much as disassociate at the task at hand. At least, he must have. If the ribbon of skin he has clutched in his dripping hands is anything to go by. No, he needs to be present for this. Skin comes up in strips, and flesh underneath it in chunks. He screams through tears and gritted teeth, but won't stop pulling, tearing, scrapping. Wicked body, wicked hands. Weathered skin littered in old scars and tattoos. He doesn't need them anymore. The angel he met after death spoke to him like a disappointed mother, and he can feel their touch on his shoulder like fire. He's not worthy of it. It needs to come off, so he keeps tearing. Skin, muscle, sinew. Surprisingly, how easy you can tear yourself apart, handful by handful. Viscera haphazardly tossed all around him in his frenzy creates a halo of gore, made of meat and flayed skin. In an attempt to keep from passing out, he thinks of the angel who guided him to Wrath. They were tall, terrifying, their faces visage radiated with disappointment in his sins. But their gilded clothes, the way they equally irradiated light, that purity, their beauty. He wants that. He still wants to be good. In his earthly life, his violent habits drove everyone else away, but eventually, if you drink enough, you see God at the bottom of every bottle. God stayed when his crew kicked him off the docks, when he slaughtered his holy word for hours in front of cathedrals. Father Lorenzo calls it sickness, other clergymen called perversion of God. But when death finally pulled his beloved body from the docks years later, the angels call it purpose. There's honor in being tasked with organizing hell's dead and transporting them to their torments, even knowing it served his own torment. Because now he was truly doing the Lord's work. He even unknowingly followed what ferrymen had always done. The skull of the old captain, now splattered in blood and meat, still watches him. You can almost see the approval in their unmoving features. He understands now. He has to be worthy. He needs to become something higher. Erase the filth of his humanity until he glows like the angels. Until he's pure like the cloth on his back. Minutes feels like hours, but minutes is all it takes to strip his left arm to bone. Drenched in sweat, he turns his hand over. Flexing phalanges in and out. These faintly spliced they can move. Much less that the bones stay together. Admittedly, not something he's considered in a frenzy. Bits of meat and sinew remain, but he was right. It's there. The glow in his bones, the radiance, faint but pure, closer to God than he had ever felt in his earthly life. Who knew that this was all that he had to do? He clenches his bones into a fist and laughs. Laughs and laughs and laughs until his vision blurs and he finally collapses into his own gore. Passengers are waiting, but he's not holy enough. Not yet.